Frigidaire. It means the first electric refrigerator. The first compact electric range. Now, there's the Frigidaire Gallery Range with Symmetry double ovens. It's designed to cook multiple dishes at multiple temperatures, so you can prepare the entire meal at the same time. Frigidaire, over 90 years of legendary innovation.
See the full line of Frigidaire appliances at Ventura TV Electronics and Appliances.
Hi, I'm John Mallos. Welcome to this live edition of Connect with Me on the showroom floor at Ventura TV on this day. Excuse me, wow, I get all choked up here sometimes. Once again, we're going to be talking about education here on the showroom floor. You're watching us on Comcast Channel 187, 43.6, and you can call in at 436-MeTV Option 11. I'll try not to get too choked up on the program today. A very special guest from the Assemi family is here on our program today.
Tonight I want to discuss the importance of the television medium to the American people. It's almost time.
Now we'll find out once and for all about Clark Kent, Superman.
Look up in the sky. It's a bird. It's a plane. It's a TV show.
Yes, but who is he? What's his name?
He's Superman.
Golly, Clark, won't that be wonderful seeing Superman?
Fighting a never-ending battle for truth, justice, and television the MeTV way.
No one can do the things that Superman does.
The adventures of Superman.
Now on MeTV Fresno, Xfinity 187.
Ladies' Night was started in his honor. Barstools pulled themselves out for him. The only thing Chuck Norris is afraid of is her. Cheers is the most memorable bar in the world. You may not always watch comedy, but when you do, watch Cheers.
MeTV Fresno, channel 43.6 and Xfinity 187.
Hey, glad to be back here on the program on Connect with Me. You're watching us live on Comcast Channel 187 as usual, 43.6 and now 13.1. And by the way, my friends, if you choose and have nothing else to do today, at 2 o'clock we show the replay on YouTube, and then at 8 o'clock tonight on Biz TV. That would be 13.6 and 13.5. So once again today, as I give the phone number out here one more time, 436-MeTV Option 11, the focus is on education, and it seems that most of us agree that education needs fixing to a certain extent, whether it be reading, writing, comprehension, whatever the case may be. But I think the disagreement is how to fix it. That's always been the disagreement, I think, how to fix the problem in education, and that is the focus today. Let's roll the videotape. I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about, my friends. Enter Kendra Rogers, who who actually came upon the scene roughly 14 years ago as a member of the Fresno County First Five. But this past summer, she came under some fire and resigned her position as the executive director and has since landed a brand new gig. And for the past few months, she's been the community investment director for Granville Homes. That's Darius Assemi, a newly created position designed to focus on children and educational issues in our area. And there she is with Michael Berg, the Central Unified District Superintendent. She claims this new position is a real human capital investment, investing in our children and their futures. Rogers left First Five under a cloud of smoke at the time, and she became the target of some Fresno County supervisors, mainly because of a brand new $15 million building going up in downtown Fresno, and because she is against reducing the number of people on the First Five Commission. Hey, live in our studio here, glad to have her along, is Kendra Rogers, the Community Investment Director for Granville Homes, and we are happy she has agreed to join us here for a very candid conversation about education in our Central Valley. It is a key component to anything that we do here. Education is first and foremost. 436, MeTV Option 11. How many times, my friends, have we talked about education on this program, and you have been a part of it? Countless times the past 3 years. We're doing it again today, and we'll have a different perspective from someone working in the private sector but has worked in education. Back with your phone calls in our program in just a moment.
This fall, there is a place, familiar and inviting, timeless and warm. Me TV, a place all your own that you can call home.
Hi, honey, I'm home.
This fall, home is where you'll find me.
You mean to tell me that's all there is to it?
That's all.
Me TV Fresno, channel 43.6 and Xfinity 187.
So education is top of mind again here on Connect with Me on Me TV Fresno. Glad to welcome in Kendra Rogers. How are you?
Thank you. I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing fine.
Thank
I'm
you
glad
for
to have
having
you
me.
here.
Thanks for
so
having
how's your
me.
day going?
It's great.
Oh,
it's
that's
always a
good.
good day when you get to work to support kids.
Okay, let me ask you first of all. Let's get this thing out of the way. We'll get the bad stuff out of the way
Sure.
first.
Sure.
So at First Five, you were the executive director.
Correct.
Okay, for what, 4 or 5 years?
Yeah, I've been with the organization since they started in 2000 and then became the executive director in 2009.
Wow, that's a long time you were with them.
I
First
was,
Five.
yes.
And so maybe explain what First Five does and what their role is in the community. I know you're not here
Sure.
to talk about
Right,
First
no,
Five,
it's
but
still a very important
but
mission.
yeah, it is. So what's the job? What's the function of First Five?
So First Fives were created to really work towards a seamless support system for children birth to 5 and their families. It was based on the notion that we know that kids that start school behind stay behind, and that we had too many kids in California that were starting school behind. And so California voters really were very visionary in 1998, excuse me, when they passed Proposition 10, which was or is a 50-cent tobacco tax that goes into these pools to support children birth to 5 and their families. But it was
To
also
support them in what way?
so they do everything from prenatal and breastfeeding programs to doing parent education and health screenings for incoming kindergartners. So really the thing with First Five was it was an experiment kind of in local government control, in real
Yeah.
local control. So each county has their allocation, and in Fresno, our community determined how to best use that money for little kids.
See, both my kids, I have a boy and a girl, they learned how to read. They were reading by the age of 3. You know, and that's not the case with how many kids? Would you say half, more than half?
Well, the reality is that in Fresno County, more than 1/3 of our children are born into poverty. And what we know about children born into poverty and lower income homes is that, unfortunately, given their life circumstances, they aren't typically in homes full of books, in families that have the resources or the abilities to sit down and read with their kids. Oftentimes they're, with families that both parents are working, or you have a single parent, and with those things, unfortunately, education is one of the things that kind of survival takes precedent over being able to educate their young children.
Yeah. So, I mean, I kind of outlined it a little bit. I touched on it in the monologue. I didn't go in depth. I don't think there's any need to, but just give us the short version as to why you left First Five.
I felt really at the end of the day that the organization does such exceptional work, and we were at such a pivotal point in terms of moving work in this community that the disagreement between myself and the board became a distraction to the work. And as much as I loved the work and working on behalf of kids, what was more important was focusing on the work and the kids. And so I felt it was in the best interest of the work and the outcomes and what they were trying to achieve to step down.
And First Five has got this building that's going up in downtown Fresno, almost done.
Yes.
$15 million. I do believe we have some videotape of that. There it is right there. Coming soon at a neighborhood near you.
Correct.
That would be downtown Fresno. $15 million project. Was this kind of a bone of contention as well?
Well, it was a bone of contention with the Board of Supervisors. It certainly was not a bone of contention with the commissioners, who were my direct bosses. So I was charged by that commission to move forward in making this project happen, and I'm very proud to say I delivered on that. And we were able to access almost $6 million in federal funds, that we drew down through the New Market Tax Credit Program, brought a lot of great investment, and there's a huge legacy that's left behind for the kids of this county. So I'm still proud, and the commission's very proud of delivering on that building, and It's on budget, on target, and it's going to be open and serving kids and full of families within this next year.
And what's the purpose of the building? How will it serve kids?
So there's a high-quality child care center that is a first of its kind in this county. It's a blended funded model, so you're going to have kids from all different incomes there, kids from Fresno Unified, Head Start, Early Head Start, and private pay, a family learning center providing a lot of resources and support for families. We know that families play a big part, right, in their kids' success and education. And then a professional development space to be able to do capacity building around those professionals dealing with children, with young children.
So that was the RIF, right? Mainly the building, the reduction in the number of people on that commission. They wanted to get it down from 9 to 5, right?
Correct. That came towards the end.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the
because
building.
They wanted the Board of Supervisors, as I understand it, they wanted things to go their way. And if the commission wasn't voting their way, they wanted to kind of reduce the number of people that were on the commission, which is a sad thing.
The really community representation and community voice is something that was central or is central to First Five and the work that they do. So, for me, I really support anything that involves lifting up the community voice. And I think that was kind of one of the points of contention was, wanting to make sure that we preserved, especially the voice of the rural community and other underserved populations, that remain a priority in this work.
Right, and you need diversity on that commission.
Yes.
You really do, and that's why you need 9 members, maybe even more.
Correct.
Just to, go ahead.
Well, it's just really that diversity is what's led to the work that the commission had done. When I left the commission, it was being recognized as one of the top commissions in the state. They had done a lot of significant work around early investment and really more than anything, raising awareness about the critical importance of the first 5 years. Most people don't know that 90% of the brain develops during that time, and so it's a huge resource for this community and needed to be invested in the best way possible.
And of course, you and I both have teenagers now,
yes.
And we know that brain doesn't fully develop until it's about
right.
26
Correct.
or 27.
Yes.
We kind of, no, but we have good kids. We have good kids, but it's that early development stage, 0 to 5, that is so critical. What they're exposed to, what they hear, what they see, and how they see it are very critical to their early development, right?
Yes, absolutely. And my my boss, the family I work for, the SME family, Darius is a brilliant man and was very aware of that. And that was what led me to join his team. Was he recognized that if he wanted to really move the needle on poverty in this community, that investing early and as deep as we can in young children was the way to go.
Yeah. All right. You are now the Community Investment Director for Granville Homes. That's Darius Assemi and the family out there. We got to take a break. We're with Kendra Rogers, so we'll talk about her new role in education and at Granville Homes and what Granville is doing to invest in the community as well. Hey, 436, I'll try not to have another choking, coughing, hacking attack here. I don't know if it's allergies or what it might be, but 436, Me TV, option 11, my friends. You have a long way to go, another 48 minutes. For you to call in and be a part of the program. Back in just a moment.
Attention all units. We have reports of 2 motorcycle cops protecting California's highway.
That's for us, good buddy.
The Men of Chips are on Me TV.
Hi, I'm John Baker. I'm John Baker. It's Officer Baker.
He's the blonde one.
Hi there.
Officer Poncherello, ma'am.
Frank Poncherello.
Oh, I'm Frank Poncherello.
And he's the one who's Eric Estrada.
There's no way I wouldn't remember a name like that.
Catch the blonde one and the one who's Eric Estrada on
now
Chips.
on Me TV Fresno, Xfinity 187.
Frigidaire. It means the first refrigerator. It means a history of innovations that help make your home life better. And now we introduce the new Frigidaire French door refrigerator with over 100 ways to organize for maximum flexibility. Built with adjustable flip up and slide under shelving and stackable crisper drawers. It's the refrigerator that flexes to fit it all, no matter what your day will bring. Frigidaire, over 90 years of legendary innovation.
See the full line of Frigidaire appliances at Ventura TV Electronics and Appliances.
It's Sully and Russ on the Big Biz Show.
It's your biz.
And maybe they'll start listening to Baldwin McCullough.
Now, before you make any money moves, check in with the Brain Trust.
And you are starting your week off right.
All right, Kendra Rogers is here talking about education, and she is the Community Investment Director for Granville Homes. That would be Darius Assemi. So Kendra, what is your job? I said it's a newly created position designed to focus on education. Be more specific. What do you do there? What's your job? What are you being paid for?
What am I being paid for? Well, as I'm sure you know, the Assemi family is very dedicated to addressing kind of issues around human development, around care and compassion of our community and our residents. And so, what they had recognized was that education was really the kind of upstream investment strategy to trying to get on top of the poverty, the unemployment, all of those things that matter so deeply to them. So they know building, and what I know is education investment. So he reached out, and I think we've made a great team of coming together. And so what I'm helping them with is really understanding and developing the best approach, similar to with businesses, right? You look at investments, you look at their portfolios, their performance, that kind of thing. So we've been looking at the research, we've been looking at the data to determine where to best invest their philanthropic dollars in this community around education. And so I've been developing some strategies and partnerships around that.
So what kind of data are you looking at?
Really looking at our own community data. So again, one of the shocking things for a lot of folks is that less than 50% of our children are reading on grade level at 3rd grade. So we're only at about 45% are at just proficient. That's pretty significant. So we're looking at that and saying, why is that happening? What is the case? What are the drivers in that? They're also very dedicated to health. So we're really looking at how do health issues impact education. One example is oral health. Children with oral health issues, that is a big issue with kids attending school. So you have kids missing school because of oral health. So things like that, identifying where can we invest that's going to have kind of our biggest bang for our buck to really help our kids be successful in their educational journeys.
Okay, if less than 50% are reading at grade level at 3rd grade, then what can the Assemi family do to help correct the problem?
Okay.
What is their involvement in trying to fix that part of education?
Well, first and foremost is that they are completely committed to partnerships with the schools. I think what we see is so often it's put on the schools that they need to fix education. What are the schools doing? But they really embrace the philosophy that it's the community responsibility. It's both an individual responsibility as citizens, but it's also a community responsibility to come alongside and support the schools. So we're really following the schools' leads and working with them and what they've identified as a need. And so, for example, in Central Unified, what we know is that parents matter significantly, in the outcomes for young kids. But a lot of our parents need resources. They need support. Maybe they weren't parented well, so they don't know how to best support and parent their child, those types of things. So they said, we need a resource center. We need a place where parents can come, where kids have a place in the community. So Granville is partnering with them and doing a community resource center there in Central Unified that will be aimed.
They're going to build that?
Yes, we will be building that. Their board approved the partnership about 2 weeks ago, and so that's what you saw in the footage earlier.
Let's roll that again. We can roll that monologue
looking
video
over
again, yeah.
Was looking over those plans. It'll include a partnership with the Boys and Girls Club and bringing them alongside.
So what's going to go on there at the center?
So there will be parenting classes. There will be after-school programs that will be operated both by the district and the Boys and Girls Club.
Part of Central Unified?
Yes. So that will all be there. It'll be located on their campus. They also have a high-quality preschool that's located very close by. So you might have a mom coming, dropping one kid off at 3rd grade, taking the younger child to the preschool class, and then being able to go to the community center with their infant for a mommy and me reading circle time. So that's really the idea, is this approach that schools are the centers of community. And how can we bring the community alongside to help support the schools based on their identified needs?
Yeah, and the video that we saw there was you talking to Michael Berg, and that resource center will be located right here?
Yes.
Right near Teague, right?
Yes. So it'll be right there by their district offices as well. And again, there's a demonstration preschool there. There'll be the resource center there. And then right next to that is the new universally accessible park. So there'll be a great opportunity to really schedule some activities around physical engagement, nutrition, healthy eating. That's something that's been identified as a priority in that district. So we're really kind of, if you think of it as a dance, we're really trying to kind of follow the district's leads. It might look different in Sanger Unified than it does in Clovis Unified. So depending on what the district has identified, that's where we've been willing to invest.
So one of the things to make a project like this successful is getting the word out, coming on programs like this. Of course, this is the only television talk show in the Central Valley. Did you know that?
I did not know
only
that.
television talk show. So you got to come on programs like this and elsewhere. How else are you going to get the word out? Because it's not only by word of mouth. You need publicity on this, right? So where do you go?
Well, that's part of what I was able to bring to the work at Granville was a lot of deep relationships with partners throughout the community. So in working with this project, for example, I've been able to tap into my network and have met with a lot of different partners that can bring resources there that have said, oh yeah, we can offer a nutrition class there. Sure, we can do a WIC workshop there once a month. So it's really been about bringing that. And then that's the whole point of these things being located through the schools, is that they have the connection with the parents on the ground. So they will be able to really promote this for their families. Parents see it as they're dropping their kids off at school each day, that type of thing. So we really utilize that network.
This is part of Central Unified.
Correct.
This is in the early stages, as we see here in this video. That's not hard to figure out. So at what stage are they in right now, and when will this building be complete? That's one. Two, how big will it be?
We're in the final site plan kind of phase of figuring out how big it'll be. It's supposed to be done in about, given the timelines, we've got to go through some state because it is located on a school campus. So I think we're looking at about a 12 to 16 month timeline on completion. So
how many square feet would you say?
I think, and I'm bad, this is not my expertise, but I believe that it's going to be, that it's going to be about 5,000 square feet. So
about 5,000.
Yeah, that's kind of what we're looking at.
Now, so I just want to understand, we got to go to break here in a second, but what else will be in this resource center? Will there be like a lunchroom, a refreshment room? No vending machines like junk food, like chips and stuff like that, because you're teaching health.
Correct.
And you're teaching good eating habits.
Correct. So there'll be a small kind of like kitchen space to be able to do nutrition workshops, demonstrate small cooking demonstrations with families. The goal is for this really to be a one-stop resource for families, really tied to their kids' education. So what do parents need? Right? Absolutely. Well, health is an integrated part of education for us. So it's looking at mental health support, so being able to do breastfeeding support groups, for new moms in that area, those types of things. So, Central has been very innovative in their thinking. They recognize that the schools can't do it alone. So Superintendent Berg has been, I think, really kind of set the bar for how you really effectively engage community and allow people to come alongside you.
Hey, you know what would be a blockbuster show here on Connect with Me? We got to go to break here on the program. 436 Me TV Option 11, talking about education and what the Assembly family is trying to do to help education in this area. But I'll tell you what a blockbuster show would be, is to get Darius Assemi and Michael Berg here to talk about this too, huh? Wouldn't that be nice? Maybe you can help us out on that.
Sure.
All right. Okay. We're talking with Kendra Rogers. A lot more ground to cover here on the show. Connect with Me. 436 Me TV Option 11. Join the program. Got a long way to go. Back in a moment.
Watch Dr. TV on over-the-air channel 13.9.
Back here on Connect with Me on Me TV Fresno. Glad to have you along, of course, on this Wednesday morning as usual. And one of my favorite topics is education. Talking about good eating habits. I mean, most of us, at least my family, my kids know that eating pizza every day is not good for you. Right. Okay, they know that.
Correct.
So I guess my logical question would be, don't most kids and parents know that? Or do they need to be educated on that? Or do they need to be educated on what right foods to eat, that's supposed to be healthy for them?
It's both of those things. So you have some families, they don't know. If you're a family that has been raised in poverty, you've had limited access to health and nutrition and that type of thing, and to healthy foods. There might be some knowledge, but not extensive knowledge. But one of the biggest issues we have is around access. So you have parts of this community where there are no grocery stores. So when you talk about and these families lack transportation, so they're going to the local corner store, paying double for a gallon of milk because it's, at the corner store and not at a grocery store. They're not able to get access to fresh fruits and vegetables, and they have very limited budgets. So when you look at what can feed a family, I mean, we've seen how, frozen burritos or, the processed foods, you can get a lot for that. So when you've got somebody trying to make ends meet, sure, they might want to do, I mean, I knew even for us, my husband, at one point he goes, let's try to have just, all natural, this and that. It was really expensive, so eating healthier cost more. So we have a lot of these other issues. So part of it, for example, is teaching them how to take their WIC vouchers and make healthy food with that. It's being able to teach them how to shop in a way that they are maximizing what they have. So it's going beyond just education, but giving them, hands-on application of, okay, yeah, so that's what I can do with that type of vegetable.
That's where I find the problem. And many of these people that live in this kind of poverty, and I wish we could get them out of there and get them out of their current situation. Many of them work in the ag industry.
Correct.
Okay, and yet they're still going down to the corner store and buying that frozen wrap burrito.
Right.
That's probably got like 9 gazillion grams of fat and cholesterol. That's really bad for their health.
Right. So that's
really the problem.
That is
they
the
work
reality.
in the ag industry, yet they're not eating healthy.
Because they can't afford it.
Because they can't afford it.
They cannot afford the very food that they are part of that production. And, and that's certainly something that is the reality of our community. And I think it's what we're talking about in greater depths of what does it mean when you have the population that we do, and there's a lot of assets there and strengths, but how do we, really address the issue, the depths of generational poverty?
And how does that go hand in hand with education? Those health issues that we just talked about.
There's a lot, and like I said, for example, with asthma, we have a lot of kids missing school because they have unmanaged asthma, undiagnosed asthma. We have kids, think about us when you're hungry at work and you're in a meeting, and you can't wait to get out of the meeting because you can't think because you're so hungry. Imagine a child, sitting there trying to focus and concentrate all day, when they haven't eaten.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of issues. When people think education, they think just the schools, but the reality is when we have kids that don't know where they're going to sleep tonight, they don't know where their next meal is coming from. They're witnessing violence in their homes and their neighborhoods, and we're asking them to go to school and sit there quietly all day and learn.
And the last thing that they're going to think about, some of these parents are going to be reading to their 3-year-old kids when they have all these other problems.
Yes.
These health issues, financial issues that surround the family. Good morning, caller. You're on the air. Go ahead.
Yes, I think you touched on this slightly, but what's the responsibility of the parents on all this? Because it seems like the parents should be educated in order to get the WIC program. Also, why do they even have an incentive to buy anything that's healthy if the government's paying for their food? I'm just curious. And is there also a double dip in the sense of you provide meals to kids, but does that deduct from their WIC program? Thank you very much.
Okay, that's kind of a 2-part question. Go ahead.
Right. So, what the first part of his question was?
Why can't the parents take responsibility?
Correct. Okay. So yes, absolutely. I mean, my belief is that parents are their child's first and most valuable teacher. So there certainly is a huge role to play with parents. The reality is, though, in some cases with the kids in our community, their parents aren't able to be there for them, whether it be because they can't or they won't. You know, we have children who have parents that are incarcerated. We have children whose, you know, parents are working 2-3 jobs to try to make ends meet. Substance abuse issues, which is very, I mean, as you know, a major issue in this community.
Actually, I don't know because I'm not in that world, but I understand what you're talking about.
I was thinking about when you used to cover news. I'm like,
no,
well, you see it all the time in those shows.
I know.
So, I mean, the reality is, and you know, where we're at, I mean, in Granville's philosophy really is that these children are all of our responsibility. So yes, you want the parents to be there and to step up, but if they can't or won't, these are our community's children. And the fact is, we pay for them one way or another.
See, you're lucky. Your kids are lucky. My kids are lucky that you are there for them and that you're able to take that responsibility. I was able to take that responsibility and be there for my kids as you and your husband are. However, you're saying that many of these parents are just incapable.
Correct.
They're not capable because of their current living situation. Right. They might be on drugs, they might be on an alcoholic, they might be incarcerated, whatever their situation is. They're not able to do it.
Correct.
So that's where you step in.
Right. And that's where generational poverty comes in.
You think it's our obligation to step in?
I think as a community, it's absolutely our obligation to step in.
Why?
Because these are kids that at the end of the day, well, first and foremost, just from a moral standpoint, I mean, I think for any of us as human beings to look at those children and say they're not my responsibility. You know, I had a colleague that said, what about the kids that lost the parent lottery? You know, those children didn't ask to be here. They didn't ask to be born into that situation. But the second, you know, even if you don't feel it's a moral thing, financially, we pay for these kids anyway.
Yeah,
so we pay for them in their, you know, we pay for their incarceration, we pay for their substance abuse programs. We're paying for this anyway.
Caller, go ahead. You're on the air.
To her question is, people that live in poverty, back in 40, 50 years ago, there wasn't so much of this, you know, watch your weight and what you eat and all that, vegetables. And I grew up with a lot of beans and butter and flour tortillas. I'm a Hispanic, and that's the way we grew up with, you know. So now we know that's bad because you have diabetes. Okay, a lot of that stuff that now is hitting a lot of African Americans along with Hispanics, and you see most of us in Hispanic culture. You watch them; their kids are 50, 60 pounds overweight. Why? Because we lay back and eat all that that's no good, you know. And
now,
so
wait a minute, caller.
Nowadays.
Caller?
Yes.
Caller, I have a bone to pick with you, what you just said. I'm a heart patient, and beans and rice, brown rice, they're supposed to be good for you. Don't leave them there. They're supposed to be good for you. They're supposed to be healthy. Beans and rice are supposed to be healthy.
It's the way in which they're prepared.
But look at John. I went through a cardiac arrest eating those stuff. Okay, I was in a cardiac arrest for 3 days. And a lot of the problem was because of all the beans and the butter and the rice. That was my out. That was it. I was already, let's say, already having my last rites with the priest and everything. And 3 days later, I came out of it by pulling out my tube. Okay, and I feel better now because I've definitely have listened to the doctor. Because a lot of people don't want to listen to the doctor.
Yeah.
Okay, they're not used to eating those vegetables, apples, bananas, and all that. They'll go to a quick stop, or, you know, a McDonald's and all that, and they'll fill themselves up to a double burger and all that. That's why I used to eat 3 double burgers. And now it's like every other day.
Yeah.
And in the school, what they try to do is force these kids to eat something that they never grew up with. And what do you see? They throw, instead of, there's millions of people that need food. They throw the food in the garbage can because they'd rather go outside and get a Coke and all that. It's our fault, not only its parents, but we grew up in that culture, you know.
Okay.
You might have had a beef with me, but I beat you in there because I felt great because if I lost 80 pounds, that's great, you know.
Hey,
but
thanks.
That's enough for me.
Thank you very much for the call. I think beans and rice are good for you. It's all in how it's prepared, like you said. I use plain beans, plain brown rice. It's got to be brown rice with a little olive oil. and that's
But
good
see, the
for you.
refried beans I love are clearly not that. Are not
No, mine
healthy
are
for
low
you,
in
right?
sodium.
Exactly.
But see, you have the, okay, getting back to the original question. Well, you know what? We got to take a break. I'm getting a wrap here. 436 MeTV option 11 if you want to chime in on the program here. Kendra Rogers is here. She is the Community Investment Director for Granville Homes. A very interesting conversation. Back in a moment.
Frigidaire. We introduced the first home freezer, the first pulsator agitator washer. And now we introduce the Frigidaire Orbit Clean dishwasher, designed with a unique wash arm that gives you 4 times more water coverage for a consistently better clean. Frigidaire, over 90 years of legendary innovation.
See the full line of Frigidaire appliances at Ventura TV Electronics and Appliances.
Okay, we are back here on the program talking with Kendra Rogers. Very interesting conversation here. Let's turn to beans and rice instead of education. But the second half of that question that one caller had was saying if we help donate meals to some of these kids and they're also on WIC, is that double dipping?
But well, you know, the reality is that WIC also is for young children. So you could have a family that's on WIC, but the WIC is for mom and babies. You know, it's women, infant, and children, not for, say, the teenager. So, you know, those, with some of those, there certainly is coordination, you know, better coordination that could happen. But even with WIC, for example, they recently, in the last few years, overhauled all of their WIC packages to better support breastfeeding, to encourage breastfeeding. So you actually get, you know, a little bit more fruits and vegetables and foods if you're breastfeeding, because again, it's something that we know addresses obesity, it addresses a lot of the issues, and it's free. So those are the types of strategies that we know. I mean, breastfeeding, for example, is a predictive factor of kids being on target for 3rd grade. So it's those types of things that add up. It's not just sitting down and giving a child a book and a tutoring program. It's all from healthy births, early prenatal care, all the way through, you know, kids having the health supports they need.
So this resource center that is a project that will be done anywhere from 12 to 16 months, this will take the responsibility out of the hands of some of the parents, right?
No, not at all. I mean, it is a community and parent resource center. So, you know, this is
but
about
if the
providing.
Parents can't stay there and provide that resource for their children, will you have staffers on board to help?
Absolutely.
To do what?
So there will be people there to read with the kids. There will be again the after school program, so offering everything from help with their homework to being able to do arts and crafts and different activities. We know, especially with, you know, middle school and high school kids, if they stay engaged and they're busy after school, healthy, positive, busy, it helps keep them out of trouble, you know, that kind of thing. So there'll be a lot of different activities, a lot of sports types activities, especially with it located right there by the park. So it's a place for both parents and families to come and access. So you might have a parent that goes, you know, I'm really struggling with my own skill set. I want to improve and get my, you know, GED. Well, that's a place that can help guide them to the right place to do that. So it's meant to kind of be a holistic look at children and families.
Right. So this is now I know that Darius Assemi and his family, they're builders, they're home builders. Basically, it's Granville Homes. So how much money is this costing them? This center.
You know, we don't have a finalized budget yet because we're still in.
Million?
Oh no, it'll be between $300,000 to $500,000.
$300,000 to $500,000. Okay.
For this one particular project, and again, you know, for them, they are so deeply committed to education and to really getting this community out of poverty.
Because why?
Because
it's not their obligation. They're home builders, so why are they in the...
It's their obligations as human beings. It's how they were raised. It's who they are. You know, the building part for them has been, you know, something that they are also passionate about. But I would go as far as to say that they are probably more passionate about their commitment to humans and to ending human suffering.
Is it because, and I wish he was here, but is it because Darius and his brother are both immigrants? And they came from such poor backgrounds?
You know, I definitely think that that's part of their story. You know, as their family, they are immigrants from Iran, and he speaks a lot about his mother, both his parents, and what they instilled in them from the time they were very little. That It's simply, it is our obligation if we have resources to take care of those who don't. And so it is very much a part of who they are. It is part of the culture of their company. And I have never seen a family so deeply committed to the well-being of their community as they have.
Yeah. What's wrong with education right now? What's the biggest problem? I mentioned this in the monologue a little bit, that everybody agrees that something needs to be fixed. There is a problem, whether it be reading, writing, comprehension. What, in your estimation, is the biggest problem in education?
I think in Fresno County, it's poverty.
Okay.
I mean, at the end of the day, when you have, and we hear this a lot from the teachers, when they've said, we're doing our best to teach kids who, like you said, this is the last thing on their mind. They're sitting there with a head full of worry. Poverty is really a big issue.
Caller, go ahead. You're on the air.
Yeah, John and Kendra, question, number of them, but I'll try to keep them short. When you were at Big First Five, is it?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
That has not opened up yet. Am I correct?
No, it has not opened up. They're still completing construction.
Okay. Some of this went over my head a little bit. Why would a child want to go there? Number one, or it's low income, and is it I'm assuming it's a school. Is that correct?
Are you referring to the First Five building?
Yes. No,
there is a child care center there.
Okay, it's a child care center, right? That kind of, and then is that? Are we paying for that? The city of Fresno, the taxpayers?
No, the building was paid for completely, and it was paid for predominantly by Proposition 10 funds, which are tobacco tax funds, and the rest was brought down through the new market tax credits. So It has not been financed; it's been paid in cash, and it's there to serve children 0 to 5 and their families.
Okay, how do you qualify the child that can attend there? How does that work?
You mean what's the criteria?
Yes, John. Yes, that's the question.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much.
And is that? Do they hire people there? Like, they're not Fresno Unified, right? That's privately owned, right?
It is a nonprofit organization, and I believe there's information on the First Five website about the building, which is first5fresno.org. So it's called the Lighthouse for Children. So I think if you go to their website and click on that link, you could get more information about how you get your children enrolled and about the services available there.
Okay, great. Okay, thank you, Kendra.
Thank you very much. So the criteria to get in there in the First Five building would be what for kids?
So the child care center will be for children birth to 5, and so it's really inclusive of all kids. And again, because it's a blended funded program, they'll have early Head Start, state-funded preschool, as well as private pay. So it's the whole gamut.
Okay. Back in a moment here with Kendra Rogers, the Community Investment Director for Granville Homes. You're watching Connect with Me, 436, MeTV Option 11 on Comcast Channel 187, of course, and 43.6 and now 13.1. Back in a moment.
The Ballad of Andy and Barney. Andy and Barney were lawmen, bravest you ever did see. Warned every crook in the record book to stay out of Mayberry. They were the law.
Yes, they were the law, and they didn't know fear.
The Andy Griffith Show.
I guess to sum it up, you could say there's 3 reasons why there's so little crime in Mayberry. There's Andy, and there's me, and baby makes 3.
Now on MeTV Fresno.
We're back here on the program on Connect with Me. We're talking with Kendra Rogers, having too much fun. She is the Community Investment Director for Granville Homes. Let me see if I can read this email question here. I don't know who wrote this, but we won't mention names. Is the ASEMI organization considering sponsorship of the beleaguered downtown stadium if the tribe drops out, meaning Chukchansi?
I am not aware of that at all. I have not heard any of those conversations, so I do not believe that to be the case.
I have no idea what that has to do with education. But
I'm not sure either.
That's our email question, but we got it straight from the source here. You haven't heard anything floating around the building in that nature. Okay, all right. Nope. Well, anyway, something's going to happen there. I don't know what's going to happen with Chukchansi. But anyway, back to education. Fresno Unified has so many problems. It's the 4th largest district. My good friend Pete Mijas was on this program before his passing more than a couple of times talking about Fresno Unified. There's this group that wants to break this thing up in half.
Right.
Good idea, bad idea. Pete, you know, was pretty much in favor.
You know, I haven't studied the issue enough to really give a real informed decision on it. I've had extensive involvement with the district. I was on their early learning task force and the big graduation task force that happened. I think that they take a lot of heat that isn't always warranted.
But is the district too big to handle? I mean, you have so many issues with truancy and failing grades and kids that are absent and oh my gosh, I mean also, I mean the list goes on.
Right,
I mean,
and you
where
have
do I
those
stop?
issues in a lot of districts, and the reality
But
is...
more so in this one because of the size and the...
Well, is it size or is it the depths of the poverty? I mean, when you look at the fact, so I was on the Housing Authority Board, and when we looked at Housing Authority, 25% of the children in Fresno Unified are Housing Authority kids. So they're kids that are involved.
That would be 25%, you said?
25%. So I mean, you think of the eligibility.
Of the kids that go to Fresno Unified?
Are involved in with either they're either you know, the voucher families or in one of the Housing Authority developments.
Which means they live in poverty.
Which means they live in poverty. I mean, and so, but we know that almost 80% of the kids in Fresno Unified are considered low income or at poverty level. So when we know the issues that plague any district, and if size really was the biggest issue, you look at a lot of our smaller rural districts and smaller school districts in general, they struggle. So if size was the complete answer to all of this, I think you would
so
see.
You're not buying into this size thing. It needs to be cut in half or in 3 different pieces or whatever, like cut it up like a piece of pie, huh?
Not yet. And again, I haven't studied the issue enough in depth to look at the numbers and the reports, but I have a deep amount of respect for Superintendent Hansen. I mean, the job that he has
He's
to
taken
do
a
there,
lot of hits.
And
a lot of hits.
Yeah, and I can honestly say from the years that I have worked with him, from my time at First Five when he first came on, he genuinely he cares. His compassion and commitment is real. The job that he has to do is, it makes me tired and anxious just thinking of what he has to deal with. And I'm sure, do they do everything perfect? No, but their commitment and what they are trying to do for kids, that grad task force experience was, they didn't have to do that. They opened themselves wide up. They invited the community in to come and learn and study alongside them.
Yeah, I think,
and they are implementing those recommendations. I mean, that's what people need to know, is that they're not just talk.
I think he took a lot of criticism for what's going on in the Bullard area, the district there, Bullard High School, you know, busing those kids in. And, you know, there's the argument that, you know, why should the kids in the north end of town be bused down to Edison High School? Edison's a pretty good high school. It's one of the better ones. And, you know, it's this busing issue. You know, why can't kids go to school closer to home in their own neighborhoods? There's that issue. There are all sorts of issues. But one of the bigger issues that I did not hear you address, and maybe you can talk to Darius Sasemi about this, and that is my ex-wife is a teacher, and she says that one of the biggest problems is kids who don't speak English. Why, in God's name, don't we have either tutors or teachers to teach these kids English?
Right, and they do have that. And in fact, they're in Fresno Unified, they actually had an English language learner task force. So they have a whole report. They looked at this deep.
You still have a whole host of kids that can't speak the language.
Well, the reality is, though, too, is that we also have newer waves of immigrants. It's not like the families immigrate and then we don't have any more. So you have children that are coming, they're learning, and then you have new kids that are coming and learning. So I think the districts are, and that's not just a Fresno Unified district issue. The English as a, you know, English language learners, that issue, and really helping to best support that piece, really across the valley is something that school district,
really.
that the school districts are trying to get a handle on.
How bad is that in Central Unified?
You know, I'm not aware of that. We haven't addressed that issue specifically with them. I think that they've done a really good job in trying to really support those kids.
Yeah.
So on their list of kind of things that they're trying to crack, so to speak, that's been one that they've had more support
this
on.
is an issue that you might bring up to Darius Assemi. That might be another aspect of education that could, be in the mix, be in the fold there.
Right.
Is teaching these kids English, because it is a major problem. You have Hispanics here that speak Spanish. You have Hmong. What else? What other tongues do you have here?
Well, I mean,
Many.
Fresno Unified, I mean, they have, if I remember right, it's pushing 100 different languages within the district.
There you go.
You know, the diversity in several of the other districts are the same way. So you look at the diversity of our valley, but it's something that we really need to be able to come together and support, especially given that our main backbone industry is ag. By pure nature of that, we're going to have a higher population of English language learners that I feel as a community we need to kind of collectively figure out a way to address.
All right, time for another break. Community Investment Director of Granville Homes, Kendra Rogers, is here. 436-MeTV option 11. We're back with our program in a moment.
A top secret location. It's the spies who love me, bringing together MeTV's top super spies to fight evil at a memorable moment's notice. They're daring.
That's right.
Brave.
Now what are we gonna do?
The best we can.
Suave.
Does that apply to me, Oscar?
Possibly.
And smart.
Yellow finger in the gun trick.
Maxwell Smart.
MeTV Fresno, channel 43.6 and Xfinity 187.
Back here with Kendra Rogers, talking about education. So you mentioned a moment ago here in the break, talking about mental health issues.
Yes.
And how many of those kids really have these types of issues? You know, you have families. I mean, I'm divorced, so you have many kids that come from a divorced family.
Right.
And therefore, you're going to have mental issues.
Correct.
Something is bothering them. So how are those issues being addressed?
Well, I mean, the sad reality is that we're seeing a huge increase in the number of children that are struggling with social emotional issues or early mental health issues. And, the reality is, because services countywide are underfunded when it comes to mental health, the schools are now left with, okay, so we need to teach the kids, we need to make sure that they have food, we need to make sure that they have parenting support, and now we have to address their mental health issues. So that is certainly something that we're seeing early on at First Five. When I was there, we had a very big focus on trying to screen children early on as they're coming into kindergarten to flag any social emotional issues that might surface, because that certainly is in a community. Again, with poverty, you have a lot of trauma, so kids are experiencing violence in their communities, violence in their homes. And as I was sharing, even families in higher socioeconomic groups, you have children struggling with divorce or with death or with loss and a lot of these other things. So it certainly is a really big issue that I think the schools need a lot more support from the community to really help support these children and their families around mental health.
Going back to our responsibility, is it our obligation? And I've always looked at it like this. If you take a kid, whether it be a kid that's 5 years old or 7 years old or 10, before he reaches those teenage years, who's going to get to that kid first? Will it be the gangster, the
Right.
gang member that's going to get to him first?
Right.
Or will it be some teacher, some principal,
Right.
someone like you,
Right.
someone like Michael Berg,
Right.
somebody like John Mallows,
Right.
somebody like Darius Assemi?
Right.
Who's going to get to that kid first? Whoever gets to that kid first, is that person one?
Yep.
Am I right?
No,
Is that a good analogy?
It really is. I mean, and the thing is, when we went and met during the graduation task force, I went to the student listening sessions at the continuation school, and I asked we asked those students, like, what has mattered? Many of these kids are in foster care, or they're very toxic kind of environments, if they're haven't been removed from their homes, and they said, someone to care. We have someone here who cares. It's that one caring adult. And we know that we need to make every interaction with a child meaningful for them, because we might be the first adult in that kid's life who has really supported them. And so that's where we really believe in what Darius and his family has challenged this community, is to really step up and take responsibility and get involved, whether it be at an individual level with a child, a family member, a neighbor kid, somebody at your church that is struggling, or as an organization or a business, is that The reality is these kids matter, every single one of them, and we need them to be successful. You know, for us to have a prosperous community, we need to have prosperous kids.
Yeah, because if that gang member gets to them first, it's going to be hard for that kid to turn the corner and go the other way.
Right. Because, you know, what I've really struggled with in watching all of this is that we tend to fail these kids until they turn 18. And then they turn 18 and they become the teen mom or the gangbanger or the drug dealer or the incarcerated kid out at the jail.
Then we want to throw them in jail.
Right, and then we're blaming them. And then we're like, wow, look at you out there. And we
what are
did
you
that.
doing?
We did that. And so that's really what, you know, what Darius is trying to do and lead the charge, you know, in this community and rally other leaders and business leaders to behind this, is to say, these kids matter. And we have an opportunity to invest in them and have them become a community asset, or we can wait and just pay their incarceration bill, or we can be, you know, pay the bills to ourselves when we're victimized, whether it's, you know, someone's broken in our car or we've been, you know, all of these different things. So our message is we'd rather pay early on and invest in these kids.
Or they could end up homeless.
Correct.
And that's a major problem in our area too. Hey, I want to ask you about a certain part of education that's kind of a sore spot with me and my kids, and that's Common Core. What do you think of Common Core?
Well, I can tell you that I am by no means an expert in Common Core, but from my personal experiences with it, I think
do some critical thinking now before you answer.
I think it's great. The school that my daughter is at actually kind of, even before Common Core came, kind of embraced that philosophy. And the depth of her thinking, and she transferred to that school. And so the change I saw, even in the first few weeks of her being there, her inquiry, the types of questions she was asking, the depth of what she was wanting to kind of discover in, I've had so far no complaints in the Rogers family.
I'm not convinced. Look, during the time of Einstein, do you think he used Common Core?
Well, but
he turned out pretty darn good.
But here I'll challenge you with this.
Didn't he? Einstein didn't need Common Core.
The reality is, as employers, and what we keep hearing from employers, and what I experienced as an employer when I was, you know, first five with some of the folks, is that they're lacking critical thinking skills. What we keep hearing from businesses is we're hiring these people that can't problem solve.
Stop there, my friend. What do you mean by that? They don't have critical thinking skills. I mean, my kids outsmart me all the time. They're thinking, and they're thinking critically. So why do we need this now when we have never had this in the past? There has been no need for it. We're not short of smart people in this country, are we?
I don't know that it's not a matter of being short of smart people. What I've seen and in those conversations has been it's trying to move away from the drill and kill, where it was all about just learning what was on the test and memorizing the test, to understanding what is on the test and why. Why does that matter? And I think that is the shift of trying to get to this place of being able to problem solve on your own, being able to think deeply at something. And so far I'm a fan.
All right. So you want the kids to think deeply about whether or not evolution really exists, or how we got to 2 + 2 = 4.
I can tell you, I have some pretty incredible conversations with my 8-year-old as a result of her being exposed to this.
What were the conversations?
She goes very deep on things. She wants yes. I mean, things that you typically.
Does she ask you embarrassing questions or no? Typically not. Yeah.
But if they do, I mean, I have a rule with my kids. They can ask anything. We share, whether they want to hear the answers or not.
They're the truth and nothing but the truth, right?
That's
right? All right. So we got about a minute left, and I appreciate you coming on the show.
Oh, it's been my pleasure. Thank
very
you.
much, and I hope you come back and see if we can get Darius on the program here. I don't know if you'd want to come on.
And again, he. The message more than anything is just, I hope people understand that for them it's not about them, it's about what they're trying to accomplish in this community, and that they really.
He's the man behind the project, though. A lot of people, they want to hear from the man from the top. You know how that goes. But it's a pleasure having you here. You're a very pleasant person, very knowledgeable, and it was a pleasure seeing you here.
My pleasure.
Right.
Thank you
Come
very much.
back again, Kendra.
I would love to.
All right.
Thanks.
Kendra Rogers, she is the Community Investment Director for Granville Homes. We're happy that she was here, took time out of her day, and we're going to be back again tomorrow with another edition of Connect with Me. We're going to talk to a veterinarian out at the CCSPCA tomorrow on the program on MeTV. Back again. See you then tomorrow at 10 a.m. Have a good one.